Hello, this is a tutorial on line drawing. We're going to learn how to use the 3D models that we make in Rhino and how to make um, some interesting diagram drawings. We're going to learn how to use the make 2D command, how to add line weights, and how to uh, do a nice composition. And we're also going to see what techniques best to use to represent more complex objects. So let's get started. Let's go to Rhino, and this is this is an exercise that I already made, where I've created a series of um, uh, digital deformations based on a cube. And now that I'm done with um, the modeling portion, I want to extract some drawings out of that. So the first thing I want to do is, starting from my cube, I want to uh, make this into a drawing. The first thing you want to do is make sure you select a view that you're happy with, whatever it is. Once you have an angle that uh, you're happy, you're gonna save that view. There's a couple of ways of saving that. You can go into the drop down menu into set views and then go to name views, or if this is already on your uh, menu here, you can go to the camera icon and something like this will pop up. And what you can do now is save a new view. Say let's call this new number one and hit OK. Now you notice that that shot is saved on your menu there. So if you were to move this around, you can always go back to that exact position. So once that is done, notice that I've created a series of contour lines here. This is so that once I create my drawing, this looks kind of to act like a texture and to make it a little bit more interesting and easier to read. Ooh. The way I created this, I'm gonna go ahead and delete them and just do them again for you guys. Let's start with this. Let me just hide this control box. So if I select my drawing and I go to the side views and the front view and type in contour, I can start from the left corner to the right corner, and then I'll select my distance between contours. I'm working at inches. This is a 10 inch by 10 inch by 10 inch cube. So these lines are spaced exactly at 1 inch intervals. So I've created that. I'm gonna do some on this side, which is the right view. Same thing, left to right. And I just hit enter again because it had already saved the 1 inch distance. And let's do some going perpendicular. If I select my box again, and from either one of these views, I type in contour from top to bottom, enter, and that's how I've created this texture on my object. From there, I should be ready to make this into a 2D drawing. If I want to make sure I go back to the view that I had saved previously, and while working on this window, I'm gonna type in make 2D, and I'm gonna select the objects to draw off of, and then this menu is gonna come up. One thing you wanna do is make sure you have the scene silhouettes on and hidden lines, and I'll show you what these hidden lines are, and group output. I think this should be fine. I'm gonna hit OK. Gonna let it do its thinking, and now if you can see from the top view here, it's created a 2D drawing. And because I had my my cube on, right, my actual object on, all the lines behind show up as hidden lines, as you can see here. Um, if I had this not on, if I only had lines and I make 2D this object, notice the difference. I'm gonna have a similar drawing, but notice that all of the lines behind are not really hidden because they're not behind anything. So that's something to keep in mind. Just let me delete that. Go back to this. Go back to my drawing. Okay, so what you want to do now is do the same thing for all of your objects. So I created the first one, then I'm gonna go and bring up my step 2, which is this guy. Um, let me get rid of those lines for now. I don't need the box lines anymore. Let me get rid of this too. So let's make 2D this guy. So if I go back to my camera, that's the angle I wanted. I'll make 2D. Everything is selected, and this is what comes up. So as you can see, because we didn't do any contour into it, it doesn't really look that much interesting. So let's add some contour lines to make it read a little bit better. In this case, I think I would like to have the lines sort of read from this end in a diagonal all the way to the back, and let's see if that gives us a nice effect. So if I select these and I contour, and I say, if I go here to my side view and I say I want my contours to go from this corner to this corner, using a 1-inch intervals, this is what comes out, which I'm not too crazy about. Let's see if we can do something a little different. Maybe I'm gonna do it from this corner to that back corner here, and I'm gonna do not 1 inch but 0.5. So I'm gonna add some more density to my lines. And well, this is looking more interesting, I think. Why don't we go with this for now? So if we select that now and make 2D, make sure everything is the way you want it. It should remember the last setup that you had. Hit OK. And now this comes up to be something like this, which is it's a drawing that's way more interesting than what we previously had. There it is. All right, let's try number 3. Let me just get rid of these guys for now. Notice that this already has some contour lines. What looks like contour lines, but they're not really contour lines. They are isocurves. When I was doing my digital deformation, the Rhino automatically subdivides some of the surfaces. I could use those for my drawing. The way I can get isocurves out of this or extract them from my model is by selecting it and typing in extract wireframe, and that'll make a copy of all of those isocurves. So that's one way we can work with this. So if we go into our original view, to a setup view, select, make 2D. Sorry, make 2D, enter, and then we get this drawing out, as you can see, which is an interesting drawing. So we can use that, or we can use a similar method as we did with this. Let's try something like that and see what comes out. So if I focus on this, let me just select my curves. I'm just gonna delete those, and let's make some contour lines. I'm gonna do them from here to the back at, let's do 0.25 intervals, so a lot thicker, and I mean a lot denser. And let's go back here to my view, my original view, and make 2D. has created this guy, which I think looks way more interesting. Um, so let's go with this guy. All right. So we have drawing number 3. Let's see what we have for number 4. Delete this. So number 4, similar situation. We already have some isocurves that we could use if we wanted to, or we can add some contour lines. Let's just go with the isocurves and see what that looks like for this step. So I'm gonna select it. I'm gonna extract wireframe. Again, this extracts all of those isocurves from my surface. I'm gonna select everything and make 2D. Enter. And my drawing shall come out soon. Okay, that's looking interesting. Let's just do our last one. Delete this for now. Step 5 also has isocurves. Let's just go ahead and use that as is. So select it, extract wireframe, and then select everything and make 2D. We have created our 5-step series here, as you can see. So the next thing you want to do is, if you have your template handy, say you created, I had already made some drawings previously. I just want to select these guys to use them as a reference. Let me just change the object layer for that. Okay, so I'm gonna use these. I'm gonna scale this up a little to serve as my template. So if I let's say I want to align, make sure all these drawings are aligned within my 5 boxes here. I'm gonna do this one by one. Notice that right now these are all different parts. So I want to make sure I select everything and type in group. Now this has become one group, and now I can use the align command, and I'm gonna align it to the horizontal center. So I can type in H, and now I'm gonna bring it here to the middle. See, my template is a little too small. Let me just make this a little bigger. Okay, select that, align, horizontal center, and then I'm gonna hit enter again so that the align command comes up again, and I'm gonna do vertical, and I'm just gonna align it to that. So now it's center. It's dead on center on my template here. Same thing I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna do align. I'm gonna do horizontal. Notice what happened here. Notice that the drawing kind of got a little messed up. The reason why that happened is I hadn't grouped it. So it was basically aligning each individual line to that horizontal point, and that's not what we want. We want this to remain as is. I'm gonna group it. I'm gonna then align. I'm gonna align to the horizontal center, and then to the vertical. I'm sorry. Align the vertical right there. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with these. So I'm gonna group, group, group. I can go ahead and align all of these at the same time. Align horizontal. So now these are all align, and I'm just gonna align this individually to the vertical center. And now your drawings are nice and ready to go. You can maybe delete this now. We no longer need it. So the next thing is to add some line weights to this. Notice that if I try to save this as a PDF now, if I type in Control Print, or I mean, if I type Control P, that'll go to my print menu, which is popping up right here. Um, let me change this to landscape. Notice what this looks like. Notice if I hit print, and let's save this. I've been doing some tests earlier today. Let's just save this as test drawing number 5. Saving, and this PDF is gonna come up. So this is not too bad of a drawing, but we got some issues here. Notice that so the lines behind the object have this dash pattern, uh, and we do have a silhouette line that looks. I think the thickness of it is good, but there's no differentiation between the lines in the front or lines in the back. So let's see if we can change some of that. Let's go back to our drawing. Notice we have this menu here. Once we create, when we use the make 2D command, this layer automatically appears. It includes the hidden lines. So if you go under hidden, you have curves. These are the hidden curves, the ones that were behind the object that are showing as a dash line. We also have the uh, interior curves. So let me say if I were to hide the hidden lines and visible lines, I'm gonna hide them too. And we have this silhouette, but sometimes the silhouette is not very accurate. Notice how it's cutting off. So I'm gonna show you how to fix that as well. So there, for some reason that I'm not really sure why, we once we change the line weights from the print width column here, while working on their make 2D layer, doesn't really take effect. So we need to create our own drawing layer. So let's go ahead and create a new layer, call it drawing. Let's do a sub layer called outline. Let's create another layer called interior detail. Let's create one more that's called hidden. All the lines in the back. Okay, so we have our 3 new layers, and while working on the outline, we're going to start by creating a new outline. So I'll make sure I have that selected, and I'm going to first extract the outline from all of these drawings. So I'll do that by, you can either do it one by one, you can do them all at the same time. Let's try doing them all at the same time. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to type in curve boolean right there. So it's just going to help me create a silhouette. Now it's asking me to select the regions that I want to keep, and I want to keep the outer region, not the inside, but anywhere. I'm going to click anywhere on the outside of these drawings. So let's say I click there, and notice how it created my silhouette. I go ahead and hit enter, and now this is under outlines, and right now the line type is set as continuous, which is what I want, and the the line thickness, I'm gonna just give it a nice 0.8 millimeter thickness. The line weight doesn't really change in Rhino. This is something that you do have to go to the preview when you print, or make a PDF and look at it that way. So we've created that. Now we're gonna work on our interior details. Let's select that. I'm gonna hide my outlines for now because I'm not gonna use them. So now interior details. If I go back to my make 2D, I'm gonna go ahead and also hide my backlines and my silhouettes. I'm just gonna work on these lines, the secondary lines. The next thing I want to do is, while working on interior detail, I'm going to do a line. I'm going to create a new line. I'm going to select all of these, I'm gonna go to properties and go to match. And it's gonna ask me what do I want to match it to. I'm gonna match it to this line from that new layer that I created, and I'll make sure everything is selected. So all of these all of these lines are now going to be uh, share the same properties of this line. I'm gonna hit OK. So if I go back to my layers, notice how now if I these are no longer under the visible layer under Make 2D, but rather if I go to interior detail lines and right click on that and select objects, now they're a part of this. So this is a way to bypass that issue with Rhino with the Make 2D lines not changing thickness. So I'm gonna add a thickness of 0.5. Let's do 0.35. So I have my out. Let's turn on my outlines, and let's see what this looks like so far. Let's see if I hit Control Print. Now I have these. I wouldn't trust this view, this preview, just because sometimes it's not very accurate. Let's do this in a tabloid size so that it's nice and big, and let's go to margins and position. No, view, output, and scale, and let's set the window. Maybe we're gonna start from here, something like that. Maybe a little smaller. Okay. I'm gonna hit print. I'm gonna save this as number 6. Okay, this is what came out. So notice, I mean, that we have two lines. The outline and the interior lines don't look that much different. So maybe we do want to go up on our, oh, the outline wasn't even on. That's why. So let's do it again. Let's do Control Print. Now the outline is showing, as you can see. We're going to print that. Let's just save it on top of this. As you can see, now you have both line thicknesses there. And you can play with the thicknesses of the lines. This might be a little too strong. It depends on the density of your lines, right? Let me just go back here to my interior detail lines and make this a little thinner. Let's make it 0.25. And the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm also gonna reduce this outline to 0.7. So the last thing to do is this hidden lines. So now I'm gonna add my hidden lines. If I go back to Make 2D, turn this on, you notice I still have those dash lines, which I particularly don't really care for this being dash. I understand for some architectural drawings this makes sense, but I'm just gonna go ahead and make those. I'm gonna select them, right click on it, select objects, and I'm gonna assign them to my new hidden layer. Actually, no, I'm going to make, while working on hidden, make sure that I have that selected. I'm gonna do the same thing I did before. I'm gonna create a line. I'm gonna match those hidden lines. I'm gonna select them, and then I'm gonna go to properties, match, select that line, make sure all of that matches, and now they are here. So let me turn off silhouette and front lines. So I have my hidden lines only. I can turn on, go ahead and hide Make 2D. So I have all my back lines, and I'm going to assign them a hairline thickness, so super thin, and maybe even I'm going to reduce this to like very light gray. Okay, so if I bring my drawings back on, all of my other layers, let's see what this comes out to be. this guy. Control print. Now, as you can see from the even from the preview, this is starting to look a lot more interesting. Let's go ahead and hit print. Let's name this number 7. It comes off to B. We go to 100%. We might want to bring up those backlines a little and maybe reduce the detailed lines. So let's look at this. Let's reduce this to 35, and let's do the hidden lines. Maybe not this light gray color, but let's do a dark gray. And let's try that again. So print. We're gonna go ahead and hit print again. Save it as a new drawing. And I think we're getting closer to something that looks interesting. As you can see now, these drawings do look a lot more interesting, and they have depth and they're easier to read. So really depends on the amount of lines. So perhaps for something like this, we wanted to consider some different line thicknesses since it's so dense. So, but that's really up to whatever you're trying to represent. So this is it for the tutorial on drawing. I hope this is helpful.